Welcome to the Centuries Playtest tutorial. I'm the author, Pearson Guthrie. Thank you for taking the time to look at this many-year project I've been working on to create a fun yet highly strategic game. Let's begin. This is Centuries, a game of nation building. You all represent a conglomeration of nations vying for individual power as we come together under a common global government. Will you cooperate with other nations to achieve your goals, or will you fight tooth and nail for global domination? The goal of Centuries is to collect the most victory points by completing projects over the course of several rounds. The projects each belong to one of several themes, which we call aspects. The military aspect focuses on damaging other nations. The culture aspect seeks to promote symbiosis among the nations. The faith aspect seeks to control the decision-making of other nations. The economy aspect focuses on improving your nation's efficiency. The science aspect focuses on improving your nation's project productivity. And the political aspect focuses on increasing the voting power of your nation in government elections, a concept we will cover later. Let's look at the anatomy of a project. Each individual project is worth a number of victory points indicated on the top right. In order to get these victory points, we must fund and then complete the project. The funding cost on the bottom left indicates how many funds we must use to fund the project. The completion cost on the bottom right tells us how many workers we need to assign to the project in order to complete it. You'll notice each aspect has its own worker type. We have politicians, scientists, bankers, clergy, artists, and soldiers. A gray worker symbol on a project means you can use any worker to fill that requirement. Lastly, each project has some effect text. If you've completed a project, then its effect text becomes active, giving you some permanent benefit for the rest of the game. Some benefits are passive, while others can be used once per round on your turn. I'll discuss this more later. How do we obtain funds and workers to complete these projects? Let's look at our player mats. We see that there is an action tableau that describes various action types and what benefit they give depending on how many actions you spend performing that action type. For example, you could spend 1, 2, or 3 actions gaining funds, and you gain more funds the more actions you spend doing so. On your turn, you will choose how many actions of a single type you will take. Raising funds simply means adding funds to your personal supply. Funding projects means that you pay the project's fund cost and move it to the area above your player mat. It is now considered a funded project. Collecting workers means moving some number of workers from the worker market to your personal supply. Make sure you get the workers you want before the market runs out. Assigning workers means moving workers from your personal supply onto your funded projects. Once your funded project has all the required workers on it, it is now completed. Discard the worker tokens and move the project below your player mat. It is now considered a completed project, and the victory points and project benefit are now yours. Now you can denote the end of your turn by moving your pawn ahead according to the number of actions you spent on your action type. Centuries has a unique turn order mechanism. Whoever is furthest behind is the current player, and ties are broken by player order. The top row indicates the first player, and the bottom row is the last player. Note how this can often lead to one player actually having several turns. If they are several actions behind, and they spend their turns performing only one action each. That means they can have multiple turns before it's another player's turn. You can also tell whose turn it is by looking at the player track at any time. Whoever's furthest behind is the current player. Players will take turns spending their actions until they have all spent a total of exactly 10 actions. Once players in their turn on their 10th action mark, they move their pawn to the lowest available player slot. This changes the player order for the next round. Once the round is over, the current government will award bonus victory points to the player with the most popularity and negative victory points to the player with the most infamy. There are various ways to get popularity and infamy in the game. The The main source is from the government. Each project a player has completed over the course of the game may be worth 2 popularity or infamy. In this example, Alliance, players who have completed culture projects count as having 2 popularity for each culture project they have completed. The same goes for military projects and infamy. After the awards are handed out, all players must discard any popularity or infamy tokens. If the last round is reached, the game ends and players are ranked by the total number of victory points. Otherwise, the game continues. We need to refresh the project tableau. Discard the bottom row of projects and slide all unfunded projects down, and then flip over new projects to refill the tableau. Next, we have the legislation phase, where the flow of the game can really change. In the legislation phase, players will vote to pick a new government or to keep the government from the previous round. This will change how bonus and negative victory points are awarded next round. With each government comes 2 new policies. Policies affect individual aspects, making its projects easier or harder to complete, or by offering awards for completing the project, like extra popularity. A government and its 2 policies each form a package deal called an agenda. In turn order, players will vote for one of the agendas. If they've collected vote chips, they may use them as extra votes for an agenda. Players must discard any unused vote chips at the end of the legislation phase. In the case of a tie, first player chooses how to break the tie. New policies overwrite old policies, if there are any. We are now ready to begin a new round. Move the player pawns to the beginning of the round track, maintaining their same order from the end of the last round. Then, we must replenish the worker market. We refill the market so that there are 4 workers for each aspect. Then, if any players have any focus benefits on completed projects, indicated by the lightning bolt icon, they may get a new focus token on the card now. On their turn, players may spend the token to use the ability on the card text, either before or after they perform their action on their turn. Congratulations! You now know the basics of playing this game. There are a few concepts we didn't cover in this video, especially related to some rules that are still frequently changing. Feel free to ask about these rules, or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy playing Centuries.